Inside Passage is getting a 48-volt hybrid electric system. But first, the old electrical setup has to go. And on an old boat, that is never as simple as it sounds. Brent Perry, founder of OSEA Boats, is walking us through what was here before, what is coming out, and what is going back in. SeaPower Marine is also on board doing the electrical install. And while wiring may not look as exciting as shiny new batteries or e-motors, this is the part that makes everything else work. Basically, before this boat can go hybrid, the electrical has to get sorted.
Hey everybody. So one of the things we're going to talk about a little bit today is the conversion of a refit into a new vessel. So this boat was built in 1981, roughly 80 to 82 finish. A lot of the wiring is the original vintage wiring that was put in. Some of it we don't know what it does anymore because its purpose has changed over time, so a lot of that's just getting 86'd out of the boat. Other parts and pieces, we have to check the ends and make sure that there's not a lot of crevice corrosion or crack corrosion that's gone up into the wire. And if that's okay, we'll keep using it because it's still good copper. But otherwise, we have to add all the wire in that we're replacing in some of the systems. But also there's a huge amount more wiring that's going into this. It's becoming a bit of a copper mine with 4/0 cable and 2/0 cable, primarily powering the e-motor, the generator, and the batteries. So the standards of wiring and everything have changed quite a bit over the years. So a lot of this stuff that was perfectly okie dokie to put in here, we've seen there in this boat, there was actually welding cable. That was conventionally one of the battery cables of the day. That's no longer what you can use. Everything has changed in terms of jacket quality, mill strand of the wire. Effective, we've just reduced the impedance that we're allowed to use in the wire, so we have to use bigger gauges. And we're all looking for cable jacketing that's really flexible because wrapping these big cables around corners is really, really hard. So we are giving the boat a bit of an upgrade on its wiring overall as we fit and move into the systems that we naturally have to place to add into the AC and DC panel of all of the existing stuff that's on board. Now, when you look at this, you have to ask yourself, is that a lot of wire or not? And it absolutely is. When we design these systems, we try and minimize the size of wire transitions, so there's only 2/0 and 4/0 on the heavy cables. And then we typically will standardize everything to either a 10-2, 14-2, 16-2, depending upon what we're putting in after the fact. But you can, as you can see, we have a couple 100 feet of just about everything, and then several large boxes of 4/0 or number 4 cable and number 2 cable as well. There's literally about a dozen boxes of that. And we may not use all of this, and whatever doesn't get used will be applied to the next project that we have. But this is the kind of available you have to have so that all your runs are continuous, all your ends are new, everything is fresh. We do overstock in this capacity because it's way easier to walk down here and grab something than it is to have to go back and buy more. So that's part of the goal of having everything here in the container.
So what's the scoop?
We are rigging the battery to be picked up.
Okay.
So what we've done now is we've got the battery sitting up on the cradle that we made, which is great. And so it's completely free of weight. And we brought this big beast in here. We're going to tie a line onto here to both of these eye bolts that we use for lifting. We're going to tie the aft eye up to the other eye bolts so we have at the back for lifting. And then we're going to lift the whole assembly up, take said cradle and said beams out, and look at least bringing the battery down to the height that we have here, and then hooking up the chain hoists so that once that's there, we can bring the whole assembly in with the chain hoists and lower it into the spot where the batteries are going. Maybe.
No, it will happen.
Okay, can you just drop this down as much as you can? I'll tell you when. We don't want to be resting on the metal there. Actually, give me a piece of that door skin that we have right there. Thank you. case we do touch it, but we don't want to touch it because it's not tied on yet. So what we've done here in terms of attaching this, we've got this as a keeper line because the battery is actually overhanging the strap that we have to hold it. So this is just to prevent it from actually falling off the boat that way, should that happen. And then what we're going to do is tie these lines on here so that we don't have very much stress left into the vessel. And then same with the back, that he should be able to lift it up and we should be able to take this big pallet out from underneath. There we go.
Up. Yeah, there you go. You just gotta give it a little like whack up.
There you go.
Yeah.
That way. Just come in that way.
Yeah, come down a bit more because the juice tank came
Yeah,
up fresh.
go down. Want to ease that one a little bit? As I do this one? Step up.
Well, there you go. What do you think, Brent?
Very good.
Very good. Fit perfectly. Ken?
Yeah,
You happy?
well, very happy.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
We fitted the port battery in. It's hitting a little wooden piece that we have to pull the battery out, notch out the wood, and then slide it back in. So we're just waiting right now. We had to actually, to get the battery to slide out, we had to remove the steering bracket at the bottom. The steering bracket was actually inserted before the fuel lines were put in, so we had to notch the steering bracket out to get it out without destroying the fuel lines. And now I have to radius the steering hydraulic lines around so they're not going to be in the way of the battery to come in or out at all. Then we're sliding this battery this away about 3 feet, nibbling out the wood back there so we can push it back to the predetermined place it's got to go. We've already installed the base here for the starboard battery, which can be installed really quite easily once we get the port battery in and set. So it's been kind of interesting to do that. We've actually modified all the tank lids here so that they can both take the new tank tender system that they're putting in, but also that we had to split those tank lids so that the edge of the battery could sit on top as part of it permanently, and the other part becomes the removable access hatch to the water tanks. So it's all going to kind of work out really, really well. The batteries literally just fit in here like a glove. And now we'll go forward and I'll show you guys what we've started to do in the machinery space. When we get into it, the big chunk of our, I'll call it consumable bill of materials, is here now. And what we do is we use these kind of storages and stackable units. We'll take over something like a settee, or we'll build a shelf on the boat to do this with. It doesn't matter. If we were finished installing the batteries, I probably would have built the shelving in the cockpit with the lids down and never to be done again for a while. But everything from, you know, in this case, a breaker panel or breaker. We've got a bunch of our electrical connections. We've got more battery connectors than God knows what to do with. And then everything from zip ties, bases, the whole bunch of other pieces. A bunch more coil of smaller wires that we use for controls and different running and options. And we'll set this up in here with a check sheet so that what gets charged to this boat are the actual parts that are used. And again, whatever we don't use on this project or on the Tangaroa project, we will reiterate onto the next project when we build the container to ship down to Guatemala. One of the questions that always comes up is why do we do all this up on the vessel itself? And the trigger here, guys, is that when you're paying a premium price for highly skilled people to do work, paying for them to walk around isn't what you want to do. So we try and keep the inventory right next to the application, and it's even that it's a little bit of work to get in and out of the engine space and come and get this stuff. But we really want to make the best use of the time of the people who are doing all the installation work and have them using their hands and their heads, not their feet. So up here, what we're doing now is we're actually looking at the existing panel, the wiring and everything that's existing on the vessel. And most of this we're really not going to touch too much. We're just going to be bringing power to the panel from the 48 volt to 12 and 24 volt converters, and from the 48 volt to the inverter up into the panel here for the AC side. We started to modify the helm. You guys have already seen that the throttle shifter has been converted over for the electric motor. There's going to be a Vectron control panel that goes in the large gap here that's going to have not only the generator information and the battery information, but the solar input, the state of charge, range, and maybe even possibly weather forecasting. We're not quite sure. We'll forget the weather forecasting. Down in the machinery space, everything's been stripped out for the most part and painted. And what we're doing now is putting in the walls. We've mapped out the bus bars. We've mapped out the motor controllers for the e-motors. We built the new wall that goes on the back, and that's now being installed. And literally within the next day or so, we'll start installing all of the hardware, Blue Seas, etc., and Vectron that's going to go there before we start mounting the e-motor. The other element this week I'm doing is I'm actually converting all the coolant on the e-motor to 90-degree fittings instead of straight fittings, just so it will fit in the very compact space that we're working on. And we are also working on the base for the e-motor itself so that we can have a solid piece of angle on both sides and the e-motor can slide in and out. So we'll be connecting the Aquadrive and the e-motor this week as well.
So as you guys can see, it's moving fast on board Inside Passage, and that's what happens. Once all the gear comes in, everything starts going, and we can't wait for that to happen on board Tangaroa. Now, we really want to thank all of these people because seriously, without you, Operation Silent Running would not be happening. So thank you guys so much. And if you want to see another really cool video, check out this one. And of course, if you want to see the whole playlist of our conversion happening from the beginning, check out this playlist. See you guys next week.